10 things they feel when you simply disappear. Stoicism. Sometimes walking away is the loudest statement you can make. Have you ever wondered what really happens when you completely vanish from someone's life? Not just pulling back a little. I'm talking about going silent. No calls, no texts, no explanations. How does your absence echo in their world? In a society where people often undervalue what they have, what if you flipped the script and removed yourself entirely? Disappear, and I guarantee you'll leave an impact they never saw coming. Welcome to Stoic in Your Life, where we dive deep into timeless lessons that help you reclaim your power. Today, we're unpacking a profound topic: the 10 emotional stages they go through when you disappear. Whether you've ever felt like an afterthought in someone's life or been treated like a backup plan, this video will open your eyes to the psychological shifts your absence creates. By the end of this video, you'll understand why walking away isn't just an option. It's sometimes the most stoic decision you can make. If you're ready to embrace your worth and let them feel the weight of your absence, comment below with, "I am my own priority." Stick around to the very end, because stage 10 is the ultimate turning point, one you can't afford to miss. Ready to change how they see you forever? Let's dive in. Number 1, the sting of rejection. Silence can be a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. When you walk away from someone's life without a trace, no messages, no calls, no explanations, it creates a profound ripple. The first wave of that ripple is the sting of rejection, a sharp realization that jolts them like cold water. For years, they may have assumed your presence was constant, your affection a given, and your loyalty unshakable. But when you decide to pull away entirely, they're faced with the uncomfortable truth that they never truly valued your presence until it vanished. This rejection isn't just about losing a person. It's about losing the comfort, validation, and security that you represented. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Your decision to leave isn't about them. It's about protecting your energy and refocusing on what you deserve. Their reaction to your absence isn't merely about their ego taking a hit. It's much deeper. It's the realization that the one person they could rely on, perhaps even take for granted, is no longer there. This absence is a mirror forcing them to face their behavior, their neglect, and their inability to appreciate what they had. In the modern world, where our value is often tied to how much we give to others, choosing to disappear is a radical act of self-respect. They will question everything. Why did they leave? Was it something I did? This introspection is the sting of rejection at its most powerful. A bitter pill they are forced to swallow, as Epictetus noted. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. For many men, especially in relationships where they've been sidelined or treated as an option, this moment of walking away is transformative. It's about shifting the narrative. You're no longer someone who chases validation or seeks attention. Instead, you become the man who knows his worth, who isn't afraid to leave when his value isn't recognized. In today's culture, this act is not only stoic but necessary for reclaiming your mental and emotional strength. Consider this. Each time you allow yourself to be undervalued, you signal to others that this treatment is acceptable. By walking away, you break that cycle, creating an opportunity for self-respect and growth. The sting of rejection they feel isn't fleeting, it lingers. Every missed text they won't receive, every unanswered call, and every social post they'll never see becomes a reminder of what they've lost. Your silence becomes the loudest statement. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Your bravery in walking away without explanation liberates you, even as it leaves them grappling with the weight of your absence. Over time, they'll come to understand that your absence was not an impulsive decision but a deliberate choice to prioritize your peace and self-worth. For the modern man, this lesson is invaluable. Life demands that you recognize the situations and people who fail to align with your values. Walking away isn't easy. It's a test of your resilience, your self-discipline, and your ability to endure temporary discomfort for long-term clarity. But this act is a testament to your character. It shows that you are not bound by others' expectations or behaviors, and you refuse to be anyone's safety net. In the absence of your presence, they'll learn a vital truth. People only realize the worth of something once it's gone. As you move forward, channel the wisdom of the Stoics. Know that rejection, whether felt or delivered, is not an end but a beginning, a chance to realign with your highest self, to love only what happens, what was destined. No greater harmony, said Marcus Aurelius. Embrace the sting of rejection as a moment of clarity, a redirection to something better. And in doing so, remember that your silence, your departure, is not a loss, but an assertion of your value. By stepping away, you remind the world and yourself of the man you are and the life you're determined to build. Number 2, the void of missing you. When you disappear from someone's life without a trace, it leaves a void, an emptiness they never anticipated. This isn't just about physical absence, it's the withdrawal of the energy, warmth, and emotional stability you brought into their world. Have you ever thought about what happens when someone who once brought color to your days suddenly leaves? They might not have appreciated you when you were there, but the moment you're gone, that void becomes undeniable. It's like removing the keystone from an arch. It may hold for a moment, but soon it collapses under its weight. This emptiness is something they will feel in their everyday routines, in the small, seemingly insignificant moments that you once filled with your presence. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." This is your chance to live fully and intentionally. Knowing the impact of your absence will speak volumes. In today's world, where distractions are abundant and replacements seem easy, people often assume they won't miss what they've lost. But life has a way of proving them wrong. They'll go through their day performing their usual tasks, but something will feel off. That missing piece, the one they thought was inconsequential, is suddenly the one thing they can't stop thinking about. Have you ever experienced the unsettling feeling when a favorite song plays and it reminds you of a moment you took for granted? That's the void you leave behind, an echo of what was but no longer is. This emptiness becomes a gnawing presence, an undeniable reality they can't escape. It grows louder as they realize the true value you added to their life, often in ways they failed to acknowledge while you were there. Consider how often we overlook the little things in life. Think of a warm cup of coffee on a cold morning, or the way a friend's laughter brightens a tough day. Now imagine losing that without warning, how jarring and disorienting it would feel. That's what your absence creates. A hole they'll try to fill, but nothing fits quite the same. They may distract themselves with work, hobbies, or even new people, thinking they can move on. But the truth is, they'll come to understand that what you brought to their life is irreplaceable. Your authenticity, your presence, and the sense of stability you offered were uniquely yours. As Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. They'll realize that their greatest loss isn't something material, it's the connection they once had with you. Let me share a story. A colleague once told me about a mentor he deeply respected but often took for granted. The mentor was always there, ready to offer advice, support, and encouragement. But one day the mentor left for another opportunity, and my colleague was left to navigate alone. At first he thought it wouldn't matter. After all, he could handle things on his own. But soon he realized the void left by that mentor was much bigger than he expected. The daily wisdom, the steady reassurance, the simple but powerful presence, all of it was gone. He tried to fill the gap with other connections, but none carried the same weight. That's the void they feel when you disappear. The irreplaceable essence of you, the one who made life easier, brighter, and more meaningful. Now let's take a moment to reflect. How often do people in your life assume you'll always be there no matter what? And how does that assumption affect how they treat you? The lesson here is profound. People often don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. By stepping away, you give them the opportunity to recognize your true value, even if it's through the pain of absence. This isn't about revenge or playing games. It's about preserving your peace and demonstrating your worth. As Seneca said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. By removing yourself, you teach others to see the richness you bring to their lives, not through words, but through your silence and absence. This void isn't just a lesson for them, it's a reminder for you as well. It teaches you to value your own contributions, to understand that your presence is a gift, not a given. It encourages you to prioritize those who see and respect your worth and to distance yourself from those who don't. The modern world often glamorizes being indispensable, but true strength lies in knowing when to walk away. You're not just disappearing, you're reclaiming your space, your energy, and your sense of self. So the next time you feel overlooked or undervalued, ask yourself this: what happens if I step back? What if I stop giving so much of myself to those who take it for granted? The answer may surprise you, but it will also empower you. And for those left behind, the void you leave will be their greatest teacher. Number 3, overwhelming curiosity. When you vanish from someone's life, a powerful and often underestimated force takes hold: overwhelming curiosity. This curiosity becomes an insatiable question mark in their mind, one that grows larger with each passing day. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? These thoughts start to consume them because they no longer have access to your life, and this lack of access is deeply unsettling. Have you ever noticed how people hate not knowing? In a world driven by instant information, uncertainty gnaws at us more than anything else. The moment you disappear, you become an enigma, a mystery they can't solve, and that mystery drives them to distraction. They'll replay conversations, dissect past moments, and analyze every interaction in an attempt to understand what happened. But as Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By stepping away, you take control of the narrative and force them to grapple with the unanswered questions you leave behind. Curiosity is a natural human response, but when you vanish, it transforms into something far more intense: a need to fill the void left by your absence. They'll search for answers in every corner, scrolling through old photos, revisiting memories, and perhaps even reaching out to mutual friends in a desperate attempt to piece together the puzzle. Yet, the more they search, the more elusive the answers become. You've gone silent, cut ties, and erased the breadcrumbs that would lead them back to you. Have you ever thought about why this strategy is so effective? It's because people thrive on patterns, on predictability, and when you break that pattern, it leaves them disoriented. They expected you to always be there, to always reply, to always care, and now they're left wondering what went wrong. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your silence forces them to react, to reflect, and to confront their own insecurities. In today's hyper-connected world, disappearing completely is more powerful than ever. We're used to constant updates, endless notifications, and the illusion that we can keep tabs on everyone we know. But when you disappear, you disrupt that flow. They'll check your social media, refreshing Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, looking for any sign of you. But you've gone dark. No stories, no posts, no updates. This drives them into a frenzy because for the first time, they have no idea what's going on in your life. They start to imagine possibilities. Have you moved on? Are you with someone else? Are you happier without them? And here's where the real power lies. Their mind fills in the gaps. By providing no answers, you allow their imagination to run wild, and that imagination is often far more torturous than reality. Let me share a relatable story. A friend once told me about someone they had been dating casually for a few months. It wasn't serious, and they didn't think much of it when the other person suddenly stopped responding. But as the days turned into weeks, curiosity took over. They couldn't stop thinking about it. Why had this person disappeared? What had they done wrong? They found themselves rereading old texts, looking for clues, and even asking mutual acquaintances for information. What started as indifference turned into a full-blown obsession. This is what happens when you leave someone in the dark. The unknown becomes a vacuum, and that vacuum demands to be filled. Curiosity doesn't just make them wonder about you, it makes them question themselves. Were they too cold? Did they say, something wrong? Were they not enough? These thoughts become a feedback loop replaying in their mind, each time amplifying their desperation to find answers. And the more desperate they become, the more they realize how much power your absence holds. As Seneca said, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. By removing yourself, you create that friction, that trial, and force them to confront their assumptions and actions. Now here's a question for you. How often have you allowed someone to know too much about you? And what happens when you take that away? The lesson here isn't about manipulation. It's about self-respect and setting boundaries. When you disappear, you're not punishing them. You're reclaiming your energy and protecting your peace. In doing so, you're teaching them a valuable lesson about what happens when they take someone for granted. As they spiral deeper into their curiosity, they'll go to greater lengths to find answers. They may try to provoke a reaction, post cryptic messages online, or even reach out with casual inquiries disguised as concern. But here's where you must remain firm. Responding even slightly gives them the closure they crave. True strength lies in your silence, in resisting the urge to explain yourself or justify your decision. Remember, the power of curiosity lies in the unknown. As they seek answers, they grow more aware of how much your presence mattered. Curiosity isn't inherently negative. It's what pushes us to learn, to grow, and to explore. But when it's fueled by the absence of someone they thought they'd never lose, it becomes a powerful teacher. It teaches them to value what they once overlooked, to appreciate what they once ignored. And for you, it's a reminder that stepping away isn't a loss. It's a strategic choice to focus on your own growth and well-being. As you reclaim your space, let their curiosity do the rest. The overwhelming curiosity they feel is a reflection of the impact you had on their life. It's proof that your presence mattered, even if they didn't realize it at the time. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior, said Confucius. By disappearing, you've mastered the art of detachment, a skill that not only empowers you but forces others to acknowledge the value you bring. So let their curiosity be their guide, and let your silence be your power. What lessons will they learn from your absence, and how will you grow from the space you've reclaimed? That is the true test of strength, and it's one you're more than capable of passing. Number 4. Deep self-reflection. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. When you disappear from someone's life, you force them to face a reality they often avoid, self-reflection. This isn't just a casual moment of introspection. It's a deep, sometimes painful process that turns their focus inward, making them question their actions, attitudes, and decisions. They begin to analyze their behavior and wonder what drove you to leave without a trace. Was it something they said? Did they fail to meet your needs? Did they undervalue your presence or take you for granted? These questions become a relentless loop in their mind, pulling them into a spiral of self-examination that they can't escape. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By stepping away, you shift the power dynamic, forcing them to stop blaming external circumstances and take accountability for their role in the situation. In the modern world, where distractions abound and self-awareness often takes a backseat to convenience, the act of walking away is a bold and powerful move. It disrupts their routine, removing the safety net they once had in you. This disruption compels them to look inward because with you gone, there's no one left to reassure them, soothe their guilt, or shoulder the emotional burden. They're left alone with their thoughts, and those thoughts aren't always kind. They replay every conversation, revisit moments of neglect or indifference, and begin to see their flaws in ways they never did before. Have you ever wondered why people resist self-reflection so much? It's because it requires them to confront the uncomfortable truth about themselves. Yet, as Epictetus said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Your absence becomes their teacher, stripping away illusions and forcing them to confront their imperfections. This self-reflection often starts subtly but deepens over time. At first, they may dismiss your departure as impulsive or unwarranted. But as days turn into weeks, the reality sinks in. You didn't leave because of a single moment or isolated issue. Your departure was a response to a pattern they created. They start to see the times they ignored your efforts, the times they dismissed your feelings, and the moments when they treated your presence as a given rather than a gift. This realization is sobering because it forces them to acknowledge that they may have had something wonderful, but failed to nurture it. To relate this to everyday life, think about how we often take the simple pleasures for granted. A warm cup of coffee, the comfort of a good friend, or the stability of a loving relationship. When those things are suddenly gone, we're hit with the stark realization of their value. The same applies here. Your departure strips away their ability to hide behind excuses or distractions, leaving them with nothing but the truth of their actions or inactions. This mirrors Seneca's wisdom. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. By walking away, you remind them of the importance of quality in relationships, not just quantity. This period of self-reflection isn't easy for them. It's uncomfortable, humbling, and often riddled with regret. They may wish they could go back and undo the moments that led to your departure, but they quickly realize that time only moves forward. This is where growth begins, not just for them, but for you as well. Your decision to leave isn't just about teaching them a lesson. It's about reclaiming your energy and prioritizing your well-being. It's a moment of empowerment, reminding yourself that you deserve better than half-hearted efforts or conditional appreciation. As they sit in the silence left by your absence, they begin to understand that your presence wasn't just convenient, it was transformative. You brought stability, warmth, and connection to their life, and now that it's gone, the void is glaring. This realization often sparks a desire to change, to be better, not just for you, but for themselves. But whether or not they act on that desire is beyond your control. What matters is that you've created a moment of clarity, both for them and for yourself. So what can we learn from this? First, never underestimate the power of your absence. Walking away isn't about being cruel or manipulative. It's about setting boundaries and valuing your worth. Second, understand that self-reflection is a gift, even when it's uncomfortable. By stepping away, you give them the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to change, if they choose to. And finally, remember that you are not responsible for their journey. Your responsibility is to yourself, to ensure that you're surrounded by people who see your value and reciprocate your efforts. As they grapple with their self-reflection, you can find peace in the knowledge that you've done what's best for you. You've chosen to prioritize your happiness and mental clarity, a choice that takes courage and strength. And in the words of Marcus Aurelius, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your actions speak louder than any words ever could, showing that you are someone who values integrity, respect, and emotional balance. Deep self-reflection is a process that transforms both the one reflecting and the one who initiated it. It's a cycle of growth, pain, and understanding that ultimately leads to greater self-awareness and strength. So ask yourself, what do you need to step away from to find your peace? And how can you use your silence as a tool to create clarity, both for yourself and those around you? The answers to these questions may be the first steps toward a life of greater meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we dive into the next segment, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude. Your presence in this community means so much, and I'd love to hear your thoughts or impressions. If you're not sure what to say, just drop a comment saying I am a newbie if you're new here, or I am a Stoic if you've been with us for a while. Your engagement doesn't just inspire others, it's a powerful motivation for us to keep creating and growing together. Now let's move forward on this journey of strength and wisdom, shall we? Number 5. The urge to pursue you. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Viktor Frankl. When you disappear, something fascinating happens. They feel an overwhelming urge to pursue you. This shift isn't just about their desire to reconnect. It's a psychological response to your absence, one that triggers a deep need to regain what they've lost. Have you ever noticed how people often only chase after something when it's no longer within their reach? That's exactly what happens here. The moment you step away, the dynamic changes. They go from being indifferent or complacent to suddenly realizing they need you back in their life. This is not just an emotional response. It's rooted in human psychology. People value what they can't have, and your disappearance magnifies your value in their eyes. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Your silence becomes a beacon of truth, forcing them to confront what they've overlooked. This urge to pursue manifests in various ways. At first, it might be subtle, a like on an old social media post, a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" text, or even an attempt to bump into you accidentally. But as the days pass and their attempts go unanswered, their efforts escalate. They might send long messages filled with regret, call at odd hours hoping you'll pick up, or even reach out to mutual friends for updates about your life. The irony is clear. When they had you, they didn't prioritize you. Now that you're gone, they're willing to do anything to get you back. And why? Because your absence has created a vacuum they can't ignore. They're left wondering about what you're doing, who you're with, and whether you've moved on. This gnawing curiosity feeds their desperation, and the pursuit becomes less about you and more about their inability to handle the void you've left behind. To illustrate this, let me share a story. A colleague once told me about a friend who went through this exact experience. After years of being the one who always reached out, made plans, and kept the connection alive, she finally decided to walk away. For weeks, there was silence, and she assumed the other person didn't care. But then, the messages started. First, it was a short text. "I've been thinking about you." Then came a flurry of calls, followed by long-winded apologies and attempts to explain past behavior. The friend had gone from taking her for granted to chasing her relentlessly. The same person who once treated her as an option was now begging for her attention. This transformation wasn't about love or loyalty, it was about losing control. And this is what you need to understand. When someone suddenly feels the urge to pursue you after you've left, it's not always because they've realized your worth. Often, it's because they can't stand the idea that you've reclaimed your power and moved on without them. Now let's relate this to the modern world. In an age of constant connection, disappearing holds a unique power. We live in a society where everyone is reachable with a single tap, where messages are read instantly, and where the illusion of control is ever present. When you break that cycle, when you become unreachable, it disrupts their sense of certainty. They're used to having access to you, to knowing they can call, text, or check your social media to keep tabs on your life. But when you go silent, you take that power away. They're left to wonder, to question, and to chase. And every time they reach out and are met with silence, it reinforces the reality that they no longer have control over the situation. So, what's the lesson here? The urge to pursue you isn't something to celebrate blindly. It's a reminder of the importance of boundaries and self-respect. You don't need to respond to their attempts or give them the closure they're seeking. Remember, the power of walking away lies in your ability to prioritize yourself. As Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Don't waste your time explaining or justifying your decision to leave. Let your silence speak for itself. By refusing to engage, you show that your time and energy are valuable, that you won't settle for being treated as an option, and that you're moving forward with or without them. But here's an open-ended question for you to consider. Why do we often wait until we've lost something to realize its value? And more importantly, how can we avoid falling into the same trap? The answer lies in practicing gratitude and mindfulness, in appreciating the people and moments that bring value to our lives while they're still within reach. This applies not just to them but to you as well. Walking away is a powerful act, but it's also an opportunity to reflect on what you truly want and deserve. It's a chance to set higher standards for yourself and to surround yourself with people who genuinely see and appreciate your worth. The urge to pursue you is a powerful demonstration of how absence can create clarity, not just for them, but for you too. It's a reminder that your presence is a gift, one that should never be taken for granted. And as they chase after what they've lost, you have the freedom to move forward, stronger and more self-assured than ever. As the Stoics teach us, true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering ourselves. So as you navigate this journey, ask yourself, are you ready to embrace the freedom that comes with knowing your worth? And if so, how will you use this newfound strength to create the life and relationships you truly deserve? Let them pursue you if they must, but always remember, your worth is not defined by their chase. It's defined by the boundaries you set and the respect you demand. Number 6, the battle between relief and regret. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus. When you vanish from someone's life, an unexpected internal conflict often follows, a tug-of-war between relief and regret. At first, there's a sense of relief. They might think, finally, I don't have to deal with the complexities, the demands, or the emotional weight of that connection anymore. It's a fleeting moment of freedom, where they convince themselves they're better off without you. But like a cool breeze on a scorching day, that relief is temporary. As soon as they sit with their thoughts in the stillness of their life, regret creeps in. They begin to realize that what they've lost is far more valuable than the convenience of being unbothered. How often do we fail to recognize the depth of something until it's gone? This is a universal truth that applies to relationships, opportunities, and life itself. The initial relief they feel is shallow, rooted in the false idea that independence is simply the absence of responsibility. But true independence isn't about removing people or connections. It's about maintaining those that matter while staying true to yourself. At first, they may celebrate the quiet, the lack of effort they believe they no longer have to give. But as the days pass, the emptiness begins to set in. They scroll through their phone, noticing your absence from their notifications. They glance at places you used to go together and feel the void where your presence used to be. This is when the regret begins to take hold, slowly but surely replacing that fleeting sense of relief. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what we do now echoes in eternity. Their choices echo louder when silence amplifies them, forcing them to confront the consequences of their actions. Consider how this plays out in modern life. Imagine someone who was once surrounded by the laughter and support of a close friend, but took that connection for granted. When the friend decides to step away, the initial reaction might be one of indifference or even relief. I don't need anyone to hold me back. But over time, they start to notice the absence of that laughter, the missing shoulder to lean on, the empty space where mutual support once lived. The relief they clung to begins to feel hollow, like a house built on sand. Have you ever experienced this shift yourself, when the thing you thought you didn't need suddenly becomes the thing you miss the most? This is the human condition. We often misinterpret freedom as detachment, only to realize too late that meaningful connections are the cornerstone of a fulfilling life. As the regret deepens, they start asking themselves difficult questions. Did I take them for granted? Was I too selfish? Did I miss my chance to make things right? These questions are hard to face because they strip away the facade of invulnerability. Regret forces them to see the parts of themselves they've ignored, the moments when they were dismissive, unkind, or too wrapped up in their own world to see the value of yours. Regret is not just about missing someone, it's about missing the person they could have been if they had treated you better. It's the painful realization that they contributed to the loss they now feel so deeply. As Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Your departure becomes their lesson, an ending that challenges them to start anew, not just with others but within themselves. This internal battle isn't one they can escape. Relief and regret are like two sides of a coin, spinning endlessly in their mind. One moment, they'll convince themselves they're better off without you. The next, they'll be overwhelmed by memories of what they've lost. The moments of relief grow shorter as regret takes center stage, becoming a constant companion in their solitude. And here's where your silence plays a crucial role. By choosing not to engage, you allow this battle to unfold naturally. If you re-enter the picture too soon, you rob them of the chance to fully feel the weight of their actions. But by staying distant, you give them the space to reflect and, if they're willing, to grow. For you, this process is just as important. Walking away is an act of self-respect, but staying away is an act of strength. It's not about punishing them. It's about protecting your peace and recognizing your worth. How often do we find ourselves holding on to relationships out of fear? Fear of being alone, fear of letting go, fear of the unknown. But as Epictetus teaches, freedom comes from letting go of what lies beyond our control. Their relief and regret are not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to ensure that your energy is spent on people and pursuits that align with your values and your well-being. At the heart of this battle between relief and regret lies a powerful lesson for both you and them. For them, it's a reminder not to take people for granted, to appreciate what they have before it's gone, and to be mindful of how they treat those who matter. For you, it's a reminder that sometimes walking away is the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for them. It creates the space for clarity, growth, and the possibility of something better, whether that's a rekindled relationship on healthier terms or the freedom to move forward without looking back. So, as they wrestle with their feelings, ask yourself this: are you ready to prioritize your peace over their pursuit? Are you willing to embrace the silence and trust that it will lead to the clarity you both need? Remember, the battle between relief and regret is theirs to fight, not yours. Your role is to stand firm in your decision, knowing that your worth isn't tied to their feelings but to the values you hold for yourself. And in the end, whether they learn from this experience or not, you've already won by choosing yourself. He who is brave is free, said Seneca. Let this be your bravery, your freedom, and your ultimate victory. Number 7. The desire to play the game. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. When you disappear from someone's life, they often find themselves caught in an emotional storm, and one of the strangest stages they may enter is the desire to play the game. This isn't a noble attempt to understand what went wrong or repair the damage. It's an effort to regain a sense of control, often through manipulation and posturing. Have you ever noticed how when someone feels powerless, they start devising strategies to tip the scales back in their favor? This stage is all about trying to evoke a reaction from you, to pull you back into their orbit, not by addressing the root cause of the disconnect, but by attempting to provoke your curiosity or jealousy. They may post cryptic messages online, share overly cheerful photos with friends, or suddenly flaunt a new relationship, hoping these tactics will make you question your decision to leave. Their game is designed to bait you into responding because your silence has made them feel small and irrelevant. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your silence has stripped away their control, and now they're scrambling to reclaim it. This desire to play the game is fueled by insecurity and a fear of being forgotten. They convince themselves that if they can spark a reaction, whether it's anger, jealousy, or curiosity, They'll regain a sense of power over the situation. But what they fail to realize is that playing games only pushes you further away. These superficial attempts to get your attention might work in the short term for someone else, but you've chosen a path of strength and self-respect. You're not engaging in petty dramas or falling for obvious traps. Have you ever thought about how exhausting it is to play games instead of addressing real emotions? That's what this phase reveals: their unwillingness to confront their feelings head-on. Instead of reflecting on their actions or their treatment of you, they choose to create distractions hoping you'll chase after the illusion they've constructed. Let's consider how this looks in modern life. In the age of social media, the game has never been easier to play. A carefully curated Instagram story, a strategically timed post, or even a passive-aggressive meme can all be tools for eliciting a reaction. For example, they might post a photo with someone new, captioning it with an ambiguous statement like "best night ever," knowing full well you'll see it and wonder what's going on. But here's the truth: this behavior isn't about them moving on. It's about them trying to pull you back into a narrative where they still matter. They want you to feel the same insecurity they're feeling, to wonder if you made the wrong choice, to doubt your strength in walking away. But as Seneca wisely said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Their craving for your attention exposes their inner turmoil, and your refusal to engage highlights your emotional independence. The most effective way to handle this stage is to remain steadfast in your silence and unshaken by their attempts to provoke you. Responding, even with a simple "what's this about?" hands the power back to them. It tells them their tactics are working, which only encourages more manipulative behavior. By staying silent, you send a clear message. You've moved on and you're no longer interested in playing their games. This can be challenging, especially when their efforts are calculated to hit you where it hurts. But remember, your silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's a declaration that you value your peace over their chaos, your growth over their attention-seeking, and your future over their past. Let me share a story that illustrates this point. A friend once told me about a breakup where his ex-partner began posting about how amazing life was and flaunting their newfound happiness online. At first he was tempted to engage, to counter the narrative or prove that he too was thriving. But instead he chose to focus on his own well-being, hitting the gym, reconnecting with friends, and building the life he wanted. Over time, he realized that the posts weren't about genuine happiness but about trying to provoke a reaction from him. His silence not only protected his peace but also highlighted how much power he had taken back by refusing to play the game. This is the essence of Stoicism: choosing to master your reactions rather than being mastered by external events. So, what's the lesson here? First, understand that the desire to play the game stems from their inability to process the emotions your absence has triggered. It's not about you, it's about their struggle to regain control. Second, recognize that your silence is your greatest asset in this situation. It's a testament to your strength, self-respect, and commitment to a life free from unnecessary drama. Finally, ask yourself, what do you gain by engaging in their games? Is it worth compromising your peace and dignity just to satisfy their need for attention? The answer, if you're true to yourself, is no. Their desire to play the game is a reflection of their inner chaos, not your worth. As you navigate this stage, let the wisdom of the Stoics guide you. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, said Marcus Aurelius. Focus on building a life that aligns with your values, your goals, and your sense of purpose. Let their games fall flat. Let their attempts to provoke you fade into the background, and let your silence speak louder than any words ever could. Because in choosing not to play, you've already won. If you've made it this far, you're a true seeker of strength and wisdom. Drop a comment saying, "I choose independence," to show your commitment to mastering emotional resilience. Stick around. Your journey toward true freedom is just beginning. Number 8. The crushing weight of silence. When you disappear from someone's life and choose to remain silent, you initiate one of the most profound and often unbearable experiences for them, the crushing weight of silence. It's not just the absence of your words. It's the overwhelming presence of everything left unsaid. Silence has a way of amplifying thoughts, turning the quiet moments into a deafening roar of unanswered questions and unresolved emotions. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence can be? People often scramble to fill it with noise, words, or distractions because it forces them to face themselves. When you go silent, you remove the safety net they've relied on, your comforting voice, your predictable presence, and the certainty that you'd always respond. Suddenly, they are left alone with their thoughts, and those thoughts can be relentless. In today's hyper-connected world, silence carries even more weight. We live in an age of instant communication, where every message is seen, read, and often answered within minutes. When you break that pattern, when you don't respond, don't explain, and don't engage, it creates a ripple effect that they can't ignore. They'll check their phone repeatedly, wondering why there's no notification from you. They'll scroll through your social media looking for clues only to find nothing. This absence doesn't just leave a gap. It leaves a question they can't answer. Why are you silent? Have you moved on? Are you happier without them? These questions grow louder with each passing day, and the silence becomes a mirror reflecting their fears, insecurities, and regrets. Seneca said, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." Your silence forces them to confront their suffering, not because you intend to hurt them, but because they can no longer escape their own reflections. Let me share a relatable story. A man once told me about a colleague he admired greatly, a mentor who always provided guidance, encouragement, and clarity during difficult times. But when the mentor moved on to another role, the man realized he had relied too heavily on their advice and presence. For weeks after the mentor's departure, he felt adrift, checking his email for messages that would never come and replaying past conversations in his mind. That silence wasn't just the absence of words. It was the realization that he hadn't prepared himself to stand on his own. The mentor's departure created a void that forced him to grow, to take responsibility for his decisions, and to find strength within himself. This is the crushing weight of silence. It demands that people step out of their comfort zone and take a hard look at their lives without the support they once took for granted. Your silence isn't just an absence, it's a presence in itself. It sends a message louder than words ever could. You are no longer willing to be someone's safety net, emotional crutch, or backup plan. Have you ever considered how powerful silence can be when used intentionally? It's not about punishment or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your peace and asserting your boundaries. When you stop responding, you force them to ask the hard questions they've avoided. They'll think back to every interaction, wondering where things went wrong and what they could have done differently. This self-reflection is often uncomfortable, but it's also necessary for growth. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your silence gives them the opportunity to choose their reaction, to either learn from their mistakes or let the weight of regret hold them back. In the modern world, where communication is constant and expectations for immediate responses are high, choosing silence is a radical act. It's a way of breaking free from the endless cycle of reaction and counter-reaction, allowing both you and them to step back and reassess. This silence creates a space for clarity, for both parties to understand what truly matters and what doesn't. But here's the challenge. Silence is hard to maintain. The temptation to respond, to explain yourself, to ease their discomfort is strong. Yet every time you break that silence, you give them an easy way out, a chance to avoid the lessons your absence is teaching them. Staying silent isn't about cruelty. It's about allowing the natural process of reflection and realization to take its course. So, what's the lesson here? Silence isn't just an absence of words. It's a tool for growth, for both you and the other person. For them, it's an opportunity to understand the value of what they've lost, to confront their insecurities, and to take responsibility for their actions. For you, it's a chance to prioritize your peace, to focus on your own growth and to reaffirm your boundaries. As you navigate this process, ask yourself, what does your silence say about your values and your self-worth? Are you willing to embrace the discomfort of silence to create space for something better? The answers to these questions can guide you toward a life that aligns with your principles and aspirations. The crushing weight of silence isn't meant to harm, it's meant to heal. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to step back, let the noise fade, and allow the silence to speak for itself. As Lao Tzu said, silence is a source of great strength. Use it wisely, and let its weight shape both you and those who feel its impact into something stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Number 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca, when you disappear from someone's life, there comes a moment when fear takes over, and it's a fear they didn't expect to feel. At first, they might convince themselves they're fine without you, that they're better off, or that they'll move on with ease. But as time goes on, a creeping anxiety begins to set in, the fear of losing you forever. It's not just the idea of your absence. It's the realization that you might have moved on, that you're building a life where they no longer have a place. This fear starts small, like a whisper in the back of their mind, but it grows louder with each passing day. Have you ever felt that sinking feeling of losing something you didn't appreciate until it was gone? That's what they're experiencing now, but amplified by the silence you've left behind. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In this case, your absence has taken away their sense of control, and fear becomes their dominant reaction. This fear manifests in different ways. They start picturing you with someone else, imagining you happier, freer, and more fulfilled without them. These thoughts are unbearable because they challenge their ego and force them to confront their mistakes. They may begin replaying every conversation, every decision, and every moment they took you for granted, wondering if they could have done something to change the outcome. Fear has a way of magnifying regrets and making people question their own worth. Why didn't they see your value before? Why didn't they treat you better? These questions, driven by fear, become a relentless cycle in their mind, and they begin to realize that the life they once thought was secure is now slipping away. Have you ever noticed how people are most afraid of losing what they thought they could always keep? This is the fear that brings them crawling back, a desperate attempt to hold on to what they can no longer control. In today's fast-paced world, where distractions are plentiful and connections are often taken for granted, fear is a powerful motivator. The fear of being left behind, of becoming irrelevant in someone's life, is deeply unsettling. They may try to mask it at first, pretending they're fine or even posting pictures and updates to make it seem like they're thriving. But the truth is, their mind is consumed with thoughts of you. They'll check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, and even rehearse conversations in their head, hoping for a chance to make things right. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their reaction to your absence reveals their inner turmoil and their inability to handle the reality of losing you. This fear drives them to reach out, to apologize, and to promise changes they never considered before. But the question you must ask yourself is, are these actions genuine, or are they simply a response to the fear of being left behind? Let's think about a common scenario. A friend of mine once shared a story about a relationship where he felt unappreciated. He was always the one putting in effort, making plans, and trying to keep the connection alive. Eventually, he decided to walk away without any fanfare, no dramatic goodbyes or explanations, just silence. At first, his ex seemed unaffected, even distant, but after a few weeks, the messages started coming in. "I miss you. I've been thinking about us. Can we talk?" These weren't casual texts. They were filled with desperation and regret. The fear of losing him had finally hit, and it was too much for her to bear. She realized too late what she had lost. This fear, the kind that brings people crawling back, is a universal experience. It's a reminder of how often we take things for granted until they're no longer within our reach. But what should you do when this fear drives them back to you? It's tempting to accept their apologies, to believe their promises, and to give them another chance. After all, their fear may feel like validation that you were right all along. But as Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Before you consider letting them back into your life, ask yourself, are they coming back because they've truly changed, or are they simply reacting to the discomfort of fear? Genuine growth takes time, self-awareness, and effort, not just a fleeting moment of panic. It's important to evaluate whether their return is based on a deeper understanding of their mistakes, or if it's merely a way to soothe their ego. Your response to their fear should reflect the values you've cultivated during your time apart. Walking away wasn't just about leaving them, it was about choosing yourself, prioritizing your peace, and setting boundaries. Allowing them back into your life without clear evidence of growth undermines the strength you've gained. Instead, use their fear as a moment of clarity, a chance to assess whether their actions align with your needs and your worth. As you navigate this stage, remember the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them. Focus on your growth, your joy, and your journey forward. Their fear is not your responsibility. It's a reflection of their own choices and actions. The fear that brings them crawling back is a powerful reminder of the impact you've had on their life. It shows that your absence has created a void they can't easily fill, and it forces them to confront the reality of their own behavior. But this fear is also an opportunity for you to reaffirm your boundaries, to protect your peace, and to decide what you truly want moving forward. So ask yourself, is their return a step toward healing and growth, or is it simply a response to their fear of losing you? The answer will guide you toward a decision that honors your worth and your journey. And as you move forward, let their fear be a lesson, not just for them, but for you as well, that you are irreplaceable, and your presence is a gift to be cherished, not taken for granted. Number 10. The realization of emotional independence. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Zeno of Citium. When you disappear from someone's life, the final and most transformative stage they may experience is the realization of emotional independence. This stage, though painful at first, is where they begin to see the deeper meaning behind your absence. It's no longer about missing you, chasing after you, or lamenting the past. It becomes about them facing their own emotions and learning to stand on their own 2 feet. This is a moment of clarity, one where they recognize that their happiness, self-worth, and fulfillment were never truly tied to you. They were always within themselves. How often do we rely on others to validate our emotions or define our sense of purpose? Your absence forces them to confront this dependency, and in doing so, they begin to discover the power of their own emotional independence. As Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. This realization marks the beginning of a profound transformation, both for them and for you. At first, the journey toward emotional independence feels like walking through a storm. They might grapple with feelings of abandonment, regret, and even anger, questioning why you left and whether they'll ever recover. But as the storm passes, they begin to see a new horizon, one where they are no longer defined by their connection to you. This is the moment when they stop asking, well, why did they leave? And start asking, well, who am I without them? It's a shift from external blame to internal exploration, and it's one of the most liberating steps a person can take. Have you ever faced a situation where you had to rely solely on yourself, and in doing so, discovered strength you didn't know you had? That's exactly what they're experiencing now, a gradual awakening to their own resilience and capability. In today's fast-paced world, where relationships are often built on fleeting connections and shallow dependencies, the realization of emotional independence is a rare and powerful gift. It teaches them that they don't need constant reassurance, validation, or external support to feel whole. They begin to understand that true strength comes from within, from the ability to weather life's challenges without crumbling. This isn't about cutting off all relationships or becoming emotionally detached. It's about finding balance, learning to appreciate others while not relying on them for your sense of self. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your absence becomes a catalyst for this realization, a quiet teacher guiding them toward a deeper understanding of themselves. Let's put this into perspective with a modern example. A man once shared with me how a painful breakup led him to reevaluate his life. He had spent years defining himself through his partner, her happiness, her approval, her presence. When she left, he was shattered, feeling like a shell of the person he once was. But as the weeks turned into months, he started to rebuild, not as half of a couple, but as a whole individual. He discovered passions he had neglected, strengthened friendships he had overlooked, and developed a sense of confidence that was no longer tied to someone else's perception of him. This is the power of emotional independence. It's not about moving on, it's about moving upward, toward a stronger, more self-assured version of yourself. For you, their realization of emotional independence is equally significant. It reaffirms the importance of your decision to step away, to prioritize your peace, and to allow both of you the space to grow. Walking away wasn't just an act of self-preservation, it was an act of trust, trusting that they had the ability to find their strength even without you. Have you ever thought about how much courage it takes to let go, knowing that it's the only way for both parties to truly grow? As Seneca said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Your choice to leave wasn't easy, but it was necessary, and their journey toward independence proves its worth. So, what can we learn from this realization? First, emotional independence is not the absence of connection, but the foundation of healthy relationships. It's about bringing your whole self to the table, not looking for someone else to complete you. Second, your decision to walk away was a gift, not just to yourself, but to them as well. It gave them the opportunity to discover their strength, their worth, and their ability to stand tall, even in the face of loss. And finally, this realization is a reminder for you to continue cultivating your own independence. Relationships are beautiful, but they should never come at the cost of your individuality or self-respect. As they reach this stage, they may or may not choose to reconnect with you. If they do, it will be from a place of strength rather than dependency, and you'll have the clarity to decide whether that connection serves your growth. If they don't, you can rest in the knowledge that your absence helped them find themselves. Either way, the journey has brought both of you closer to a life of authenticity and balance. As you move forward, remember the words of Epictetus. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Let go of the need to control outcomes and embrace the freedom that comes with emotional independence, for both you and them. This is the ultimate realization, the one that leads to true peace and fulfillment. Congratulations on making it to the end of this journey. By embracing these principles, you're already taking bold steps toward reclaiming your worth and unlocking the power of emotional independence. Remember, true strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. Now it's time to put these lessons into action. How can you apply the art of walking away in your own life to foster personal growth and happiness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories and perspectives. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stoic in Your Life for more insights on living with strength, resilience, and wisdom. Let's continue this journey together, one Stoic principle at a time.